Night photography is awesome, and it can be so simple. In this video, I'm going to convince you to shoot more in the dark. And you'll realise how much fun it can be. I shoot mostly people, but these techniques apply to other genres of photography as well. Night photography offers us a huge range of options that just aren't available through the day. Longer shutter speeds allow so many more spectacular lighting possibilities and special effects. You get to record a period of time, not just an instant. And in that period of time, you can do so many things to enhance your image. Studio photographers do it in the dark all the time. We need in the studio a low light situation or no light so that we can build up our lighting to suit the purposes of the shot. We can add to that darkness a little bit of flash, some LED light, some torch light, or we can use multiple light sources, both stationary and moving. All of these images were created in a dark space. The place where nighttime photography gets so exciting is when you're on location. Here we can begin with anything from low-level street lighting, moonlight, right through to complete darkness. So there are various degrees of darkness that we can take advantage of. We may choose to include some of the environment lit by the low-level ambient light, or reduce our camera exposure to hide some of the background elements. Because we are working in a low light level situation, we need to think about our camera settings. Slow shutter speeds in the order of 1/20th of a second right down to multiple minutes are generally the order of the day, because we need to collect a lot of light to create images in the darker environment. Larger apertures can be handy as well to allow more light into the camera, but they can cause problems with shallow depth of field. And higher ISOs can be really helpful as well, so it gives us that option too. Don't be afraid to increase your ISO. I regularly shoot 1000, 5000, sometimes 8000 ISO to get the results that I need. Focusing in the dark can also be a challenge. I tend to use manual focus or back button focus because it makes everything so easy. A torch can help you as well, or a flashlight to light your subject so that you can focus on there. But using manual or back button focus means that your camera's not trying to refocus every time you press that shutter button. Because we're shooting in relative darkness, there are a few things we need to keep in mind. A good solid tripod can be a great help when we're shooting with slower shutter speeds, although many of these techniques can be done just as well handheld. An auxiliary light source can also help. If you're shooting people or something close to the camera, things such as a flash, a torch, or an LED light. Some of my major concerns about shooting at night are that my model feels warm enough and safe. I'm careful not to trip over things in the dark because that can be a danger as well. And I don't want to lose track of my gear and leave it behind, so I always, when I move on from a shoot, I always turn around and look back to make sure I haven't left any gear there. This is not a tutorial on how to do these techniques. They'll all be covered in future videos or in some of our past videos. This is more a video to show you the possibilities and to get you excited and get you out there shooting at night, because it's an amazing thing to do. Here are a few options that we can shoot in the nighttime or in the dark that we just can't do in the daylight. First, we start with ambient or found light sources. In the environment that you're working on, particularly if you're in a city location, there's bound to be lots of great ambient light around that you can use. It may vary in colour, it may vary in quality, but I'm sure you can find somewhere to be able to light your model or light your subject using that ambient light. Have a look at a couple of these examples. Light painting is something that I really love to do. With a torch or a flashlight, if you've got a small LED torch in your camera bag, you've always got a great light source there that you can create images that you can't get any other way. These are some of the examples. You've seen some of them. There's some of them here that you haven't seen. This is a very versatile technique because you can be in total control of the lighting in your image. You can use colours, you can light from various different angles, different directions. You can change the size of the light pool. There are lots of things you can do with this light painting technique. Light drawing with other LED light sources. There's a number of things on the market now, coloured light sources, little LED wires, things that you can create background detail or wrap around your subject or use in your image as the subject. Look at a lot of these things. These are all created with a slow shutter speed, a flash on my subject, and during that slow shutter speed, I'm moving those LED elements around in the background, those various different lights, to create these images. You can't do this in the daytime. Using flash in your image will freeze your subject, and then that slower shutter speed after the flash has gone off will enable you to get more detail in your background, to create other things that you can do with that background, that period in time that you can play around with your lighting and your subject and your environment. Spotlighting. You can use a flash or an LED or a torch just to throw a narrow beam of light on your subject to isolate them from that environment or that background. Partial lighting. We can control the size of that light source into a narrow beam just to light a section of our image. We can do this with a number of different things. We can do it with a torch, narrowing our torch beam. We can do it with a projector attachment for our flash, or we can use cards or gobos to do that sort of thing. Coloured gels, I mentioned before. It's quite easy just to buy some cellophane or some coloured plastic, use it over your light source to create some really amazing images. The colour in these images really stands out and enhances the image of the model or the subject in the foreground. Using flash with a bit of movement in it as well. We can use a slower shutter speed, say 2, 3, up to 10 seconds. Your flash is going to fire at the beginning of that, which will freeze your subject. And as long as they stay relatively still, you can move your camera around. You can change elements in the background. You can jiggle your camera, as I've done in these shots, to create something that looks a bit more electric and a bit more interesting in that background. Backlighting. Putting your light in the background to shine forward onto your subject. This gives us an amazing sort of a light that will wrap around our subject and create a different sort of an image. You can use it in unison with a front light if you want more detail in your subject, but backlighting is one of my favourite sorts of lighting. Extending that concept, we can use rim lighting. We can put our flash or our light in behind our subject so that the light is hidden by our subject. That allows that rim light, that single light to wrap around our subject and to give us the shape against our background. Generally shooting against a dark, even black background tends to work better for these sort of shots. Projector lighting, these new optical strobes that we can get that allow us to project a shape onto our subject. We can do this at night, not as easy to do in the daylight. So we can project various different shapes, different patterns. We can project other digital files or images onto our subject. All of this we can do in the dark. Multiple exposures. We can use 3 or 4 or 5 different flashes within our image to give us various different sharp images of our subject to produce something that's a little bit different. It gives us a sense of movement over time, and it can create different expressions, different feelings within that time space that we're shooting. Redirecting light with mirrors or with reflectors. I do a lot of this and I'm experimenting more with it. Just using a hand mirror or a bathroom mirror to reflect light from one part of your scene to another. And ghost images. We can do that with our long exposure. We can have our subject within that image just for a short period of time and then move them out so that we've got a partially exposed subject in front of a fully exposed background. Lots of things that we can play with these sort of techniques. Shooting photographs at night is not a difficult thing to do. It just takes a little practice, like most things. I have so many new ideas that I'm going to do in the future, shooting at night with various different light sources and different subjects. So give it a go. I guarantee you'll have fun and you'll get some really awesome images.